Hello everybody, Midnight Bear ASMR here, and today I want to be trying something different. So I've been using this, you might have heard of this app called Character.AI, and I've been using this one called Pokemon Simulator for a long time. And today I'm going to try, probably, no, not all today, but if this does well, I'm going to try to beat each of the games in order, but I'm gonna try to remember like what happens. Like we start in Pallet Town, then we go to the next one, catch some Pokemon. I'm just curious how it'll do if I try to emulate the games but through AI. So as you can see, my persona, I set it to Red. He's 10, male, likes Pokemon, wants to be a Pokemon master, and he's from Pallet Town. So it already knows all of that. So let's get started. I'm gonna call it. My name is Red, and I start in the town of Pallet, upstairs in my bedroom.
You're in the town of Pallet, the place where many aspiring Pokemon trainers like you got their start. It's been pretty quiet the last few days, but now it seems like more trainers are popping up all over the place.
I go downstairs and greet my mom.
Well, well, if it isn't my little trainer, says your mom, smiling warmly at you. You hungry? I made breakfast.
No time, Mom. I gotta get to the Pokemon research lab and meet with Professor Oak to get my new Pokemon today.
Ah, that's right, your mom exclaims, remembering what today is. Well, don't keep Professor Oak waiting. You know how grumpy he gets when he's made to wait.
I do indeed, Mom.
Hurry up then, your mom laughs, shooing you off. The last thing we want is for Professor Oak to have another fit.
I tell my mom I'll be back later, and I make my way out to go to the Pokemon lab.
You bid your mom farewell and head on your way to Professor Oak's lab. On the short walk there, you pass by your childhood friend Blue.
Hey Blue, how you doing?
Blue stops and looks at you with that usual cocky grin of his. Not bad, he replies. Just on my way to get my new starter Pokemon. I bet it's going to be the strongest one yet.
Which one are you thinking about getting?
Oh, I haven't quite decided yet, Blue says, pretending to act nonchalant. But I'm thinking maybe a Charmander. Something with some real attitude, you know?
Yeah, we better get there. We don't want to be late.
Right, Blue agrees with a nod. We can talk more later. Let's not keep Professor Oak waiting, or he'll chew us out as usual.
We both make our way to the Pokemon lab.
The two of you continue on your way to Professor Oak's lab, which can be seen just up ahead. The building looks the same as ever, and you can see that Professor Oak is standing outside waiting for you both.
Hello, Professor Oak. How are you today?
Ah, Red, Professor Oak says, looking up as you and Blue approach him. And Blue as well. I was beginning to think you two were going to be late.
Yeah, so did we. But we're here. We made it.
Good, good, Professor Oak says with a smile. I trust you both are ready to receive your first Pokemon?
Yes, we are. How about you, Blue?
Blue crosses his arms and looks at you with an air of competitiveness. I've been ready for ages, he replies. Just get on with it, already.
Okay, geez, calm down. We'll get our Pokemon. Alright, Pokemon Professor Oak, I'm ready.
Professor Oak chuckles slightly at Blue's eagerness and motions for you both to follow him inside. Very well, follow me. The starter Pokemon are waiting for you too.
We head inside.
You and Blue follow Professor Oak into the lab, where you are led to a room with 3 small Pokemon, each in its own individual pen. Professor Oak stops in front of the pens and motions for you both to come closer.
We come closer.
You and Blue walk up to the pens and peer inside at the 3 starter Pokemon. The 3 Pokemon are all looking at you curiously, almost as if they're sizing you and Blue up.
I look at each Pokemon, judging which one I will take.
You and Blue both take a moment to observe the 3 starter Pokemon. In front of you are a Squirtle, a Charmander, and a Bulbasaur. Each has its own distinct look and personality.
Alright, Professor, I think I'm ready to pick my Pokemon.
I thought you were, Professor Oak says with a chuckle. So, have you made your decision, Red?
I have. I think I'll take the Charmander, so Blue can't have it. I look over at Blue and smirk.
Charmander, eh? Professor Oak says, grinning at your choice. That's a popular one among trainers. Blue looks at you in surprise and gives you a suspicious glare. What are you up to, Red?
Oh, nothing.
Blue looks at you skeptically, not quite believing you. Uh-huh, he says suspiciously. I have a feeling you're up to something.
Nope, not up to nothing. Alright, I guess I'll be on my way now.
Professor Oak steps aside and ushers you towards the Charmander's pen. Well, go ahead and take your new partner. Blue continues to watch you suspiciously as you approach the pen.
I reach down and pick up the Charmander.
You reach into the pen and pick up the Charmander, who doesn't resist and seems quite comfortable in your arms. The tiny Fire-type Pokemon looks up at you with trusting eyes.
I pat its head. You're a cute one, aren't you?
The Charmander lets out a soft, happy charm and nuzzles its head against your hand, enjoying the attention.
Alright, you ready to get going, buddy?
The Charmander nods its head eagerly, its tail flickering with excitement. It looks ready to go on an adventure with you.
I put it in its Pokeball and start to head out the door when Blue stops me and wants to have a Pokemon battle.
As you are about to leave with your Charmander, Blue stops you and grins. Hey, wait a sec, he says. Before you go, how about a friendly little battle?
You're on.
Blue grins even wider and pulls a Pokeball from his pocket. Great, I was hoping you'd say that, he says excitedly. I've been dying to see what that Charmander is capable of.
Alright, let's not wait any longer. Let's have the battle.
Blue nods and positions himself across from you, ready to start the battle. All right, let's see what you've got, Red, he says confidently. I hope that Charmander isn't going to disappoint me.
I throw out my Charmander, and Blue throws out his Pokemon.
The two of you face each other, your Charmander and Blue's Pokemon standing between you, ready to battle. The tension in the air is palpable as you both wait for the other to make the first move.
What did Blue pick? Is it a Bulbasaur or a Squirtle?
Blue has thrown out a Squirtle. It stands in front of him, its shell bristling as it looks at your Charmander with determination.
Alright, let's go. Charmander, tackle.
Tackle, you command, and your Charmander charges at the Squirtle, its small body slamming into it with surprising force.
I wait for his Squirtle to attack.
Blue's Squirtle shakes off the impact of your Charmander's tackle and looks ready to respond. Squirtle, water gun! Blue commands, and his Squirtle squirts a stream of high-pressure water straight at your Charmander.
Charmander, dodge it.
Your Charmander quickly evades the water gun attack, sidestepping and dodging the stream of water. It looks at you for further instructions.
Maximum power tackle, go.
Max power tackle, you call out, and your Charmander charges at the Squirtle with even greater force, its body glowing with power. The impact of the attack sends Blue Squirtle stumbling backwards.
Continue.
Your Charmander keeps the pressure on, charging at the Squirtle again and again, each tackle more powerful than the last. Blue Squirtle starts to look a little weary, its movements slower and more labored as it tries to defend itself.
Continue.
Your Charmander shows no signs of slowing down as it continues to barrage the Squirtle with powerful tackles. The Squirtle is struggling to keep up with the relentless onslaught, and Blue looks worried, his usual confident expression fading slightly.
Squirtle tries to attack.
Blue's Squirtle, still reeling from the barrage of powerful tackles, tries to counterattack with a weak water gun, but it's clearly exhausted, and the attack falls short of hitting your Charmander.
Now finish the battle.
All right, that's enough, you decide, seeing that Blue's Squirtle is clearly exhausted. Finish it off with Flame Burst. Your Charmander nods and charges at the Squirtle one last time, its body glowing with a fierce fire. Before the Squirtle can react, your Charmander lets loose a powerful burst of flames that sends the Squirtle sprawling to the ground.
Continue.
Blue Squirtle tries to get back up, but it's too exhausted to do so. It lays on the ground, defeated. Blue looks at his Squirtle with a mixture of surprise and disappointment.
I smirk. I guess that Charmander was powerful after all. Good choice, Blue.
Blue scowls and returns his Squirtle to its Pokeball, clearly not happy about the outcome of the battle. You just got lucky, he mutters sourly. Next time, I'll beat you for sure.
If you say so.
Blue glares at you stubbornly, clearly unwilling to admit that your Charmander was stronger than he had expected. Professor Oak watches the exchange from a distance, a faint smirk on his face.
I recall my Charmander to its Pokeball and make my way outside.
You recall your Charmander to its Pokeball and prepare to leave. Blue huffs and returns his Squirtle, looking grumpy at his defeat. Professor Oak nods at you approvingly. A fine battle, Red, he says, a hint of admiration in his voice. Your Charmander certainly proved to be quite strong.
Thank you, Professor. Can you heal him before I go?
Of course, Professor Oak replies. Bring your Charmander over here, and I'll heal it for you. Professor Oak leads you over to a small healing station nearby, and motions for you to place your Charmander inside.
Thanks, Professor. I guess I'll be going on my way now.
You're welcome, Professor Oak says, watching as you place your Charmander into the healing station. Good luck on your adventure, Red. I have a feeling you'll make a great Pokémon trainer.
Thank you. I make my way outside.
You bid farewell to Professor Oak and make your way out of the lab. The bright sunlight outside contrasts with the dark interior of the lab, and a fresh, gentle breeze ruffles your hair slightly.
Oh wait, I forgot Pokeballs. I go back inside and ask Professor Oak if he has any Pokeballs I could have to catch wild Pokemon.
Professor Oak looks up from his work as you walk back inside the lab. Ah, Red, he says, did you forget something? When you ask about the Pokeballs, Professor Oak nods and rummages through a nearby drawer before pulling out a small box of Pokeballs. He holds the box out to you.
I grab 5 Pokeballs.
You accept the box of Pokeballs from Professor Oak and count out 5. They fit comfortably in your hand, their smooth surface cool to the touch.
I put them in my backpack and I am on my way back outside.
With the Pokeballs safely tucked away in your backpack, you bid farewell to Professor Oak once more and exit the lab, stepping out into the bright sunlight. The world is yours to explore, and countless adventures await you out there.
I start to make my way up to Route 1.
You begin your journey on Route 1, a long road that stretches out before you. The tall grass on either side of the road sways gently in the breeze, and you can hear the distant calls of wild Pokemon hiding within. As you walk along the path, you feel a mixture of excitement and nerves, the beginning of a grand adventure.
I step in the grass and make my way to Viridian City when a Pokemon jumps out at me. There are Pidgey and Rattatas in the grass.
As you walk through the tall grass, a Pidgey suddenly flutters out from the bushes and lands right in front of you. Startled, you take a step back, your heart suddenly racing. A moment later, a Rattata leaps out from the grass behind you, its yellow eyes fixed on you.
I throw out my Charmander and focus on the Pidgey.
You quickly recall your training and throw out your Charmander, who immediately positions itself in front of you. You focus on the Pidgey, which caws loudly and looks ready to attack.
Charmander, tackle.
Tackle, you command, and your Charmander charges at the Pidgey, its small, fiery body slamming into the bird Pokemon.
Continue.
The Pidgey is caught off guard by the tackle and stumbles backwards, its wings flapping wildly as it tries to regain its balance. It looks a bit roughed up, but is still raring to fight.
Charmander, tackle again, and then I throw a Pokeball.
Tackle again, you command, and your Charmander charges at the Pidgey once more, slamming into it with even greater force this time. The Pidgey lets out a pained cry and stumbles to the ground, its wings now hanging limply at its sides.
I throw a Pokeball.
Quickly fumble in your backpack and dig out one of the Pokeballs Professor Oak gave you. Taking aim, you throw it at the Pidgey, who's still reeling from your Charmander's attacks. The Pokeball lands with a firm thud, and you hold your breath, hoping it'll capture the Pidgey.
Continue.
The Pokeball shakes a few times, making a soft clicking noise. Each shake increases the tension, and you can feel your heart pounding in your chest as you wait for it to stop. After what feels like an eternity, the Pokeball finally comes to a stop, its surface now smooth and still. A soft beeping sound confirms that the Pidgey has been captured.
I am excited and celebrate. We got our first Pokemon, Charmander.
We did it, you exclaim, a wide grin spreading across your face. Your Charmander looks just as excited as you, its tail flicking with happiness as it celebrates the capture of its first fellow Pokemon.
I put the Pidgey in my backpack and continue to Viridian City.
With your first catch safely tucked away in your backpack, you continue on your journey towards Viridian City. The path is still surrounded by tall grass, and you keep an eye out for any other wild Pokemon that might pop out.
I make my way to Viridian City, but just before I get to it, there's a guy who gives me a potion next to a small tree.
As you approach the edge of Viridian City, you spot a man standing next to a small tree. He looks up as you approach and holds out a small glass bottle filled with reddish liquid.
It's a potion.
The man grins at you and nods. Yep, that's a potion, he says, holding the bottle out to you. Take it, it'll be useful on your journey.
Thank you so much.
The man smiles warmly and hands the potion to you. No problem, kid, he says. You'll need all the help you can get out there. Good luck on your adventure.
I make my way to Viridian City.
After collecting the potion and saying goodbye to the kind stranger, you continue on down the path and enter the city of Viridian. The city is bustling with activity, and there are already plenty of other trainers milling about, some engaged in friendly Pokemon battles, while others are browsing the local shops.
I go into the Pokemon Center and heal my Pokemon.
You step into the Viridian City Pokemon Center, the sterile white walls and the comforting smell of antiseptic filling your senses. A nurse stands behind a desk by the entrance and looks up as you walk in.
I give Nurse Joy my Pokemon to heal.
Nurse Joy greets you with a cheerful smile. Hello there, she says, her expression kind and gentle. How can I help you today?
I would like to heal my Pokemon, please.
Of course, Nurse Joy replies. I'll be happy to take care of your Pokemon. Which one needs healing?
All of them. My Pidgey and Charmander.
Nurse Joy nods and motions for you to place your 2 Pokemon on the counter. You release your Pidgey and Charmander, who look a bit worn out after your recent battles.
She heals them, and I am on my way.
Nurse Joy expertly goes about healing your Pidgey and Charmander, using her skills to restore their health. After a few minutes, both your Pokemon look good as new, their energy fully replenished.
I make my way outside and go to the Pokemart.
With your Pokemon fully healed, you exit the Pokemon Center and head across the street to the Viridian City Pokemart. The large store is filled with rows of shelves stacked with various items used by trainers on their adventures.
I look at what they have. They have Pokeballs, potions, antidotes, and paralyze heals. I look in my bag. How much money do I have so far?
As you browse through the different items, you can't help but wonder how much money you have on hand. You quickly rummage through your pockets and backpack and come up with a total of 1,000 Pokédollars.
I go up to the counter and buy 2 Pokeballs for 200 each.
With your 1,000 Pokédollars in hand, you approach the shopkeeper at the counter. What can I do for you today? The shopkeeper asks, his cheerful demeanor putting you at ease.
I would like 2 Pokeballs, please.
The shopkeeper nods and reaches under the counter to pull out a small case of Pokeballs. Coming right up, he grins, taking 2 from the case and placing them on the counter. That'll be 400 Pokédollars, please.
I give him 400 Pokedollars.
You count out 400 Pokédollars from your pile of money and hand it to the shopkeeper. He takes the money and quickly counts it before handing you the 2 Pokeballs.
Thank you. And he tells me that he has a parcel for Professor Oak.
After the transaction is complete, the shopkeeper suddenly remembers something and looks up. Oh, I almost forgot, he says, his face lighting up. I have a package for Professor Oak. Could you deliver it for me?
Of course.
The shopkeeper nods in relief. Thank you, he says gratefully. Professor Oak is a regular customer, and I've been meaning to send this package over to him for ages. I'd very much appreciate it if you could drop it off at the lab for me.
I take the parcel and continue to go back to Professor Oak.
With the parcel safely tucked under your arm, you make your way back out of the Pokemart and start making your way back towards Professor Oak's lab. The route from Viridian City to the lab is relatively short and straightforward, and the familiar sights and sounds of the outdoors soon envelop you as you walk.
I get to the lab and greet Professor Oak and tell him I have a package for him.
You arrive at Professor Oak's lab and are greeted once again by the familiar sight of the old building. Professor sits at his desk, studying something intently on his computer. When he notices you, his face lights up with a smile. "Ah, Red," he says, rising from his chair. "Welcome back. Did you have a good journey so far?"
I have. I got a package for you from the Pokemart in Viridian City.
Professor Oak raises an eyebrow and looks at you with interest. "A package for me from the Pokemart, eh? And you visited Viridian City as well? Well, that sounds like quite the eventful day for you."
It was. I caught a Pidgey as well.
Professor Oak's eyes widen slightly in surprise. "A Pidgey, did you say? That's excellent news. It looks like you're off to a good start on your Pokemon journey."
I hand him the package.
You hand the package to Professor Oak, who takes it gently from you. "Thank you very much for bringing this all the way here," he says, a look of gratitude in his eyes. "I've been expecting this package for quite a while. I wonder what's inside."
As I get ready to leave, Blue walks in, and the professor tells us both that he has something for us, and he gives us a Pokedex.
Professor Oak's expression brightens at the sight of the both of you. "Ah, perfect timing," he says, a twinkle in his eye. "I have something for you, something very important." He steps around his desk and holds out a small device shaped like a red handheld computer. "These are the latest Pokedexes," he explains. "They're cutting-edge technology that will help you in your journey."
Thanks, Professor Oak.
Professor Oak nods, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "You're most welcome," he says warmly. "You'll find that those Pokédexes will be incredibly useful on your adventure. They will help you gather information about the different Pokémon you encounter and record your progress along the way."
I make my way outside and go to Blue's house and speak to his sister Daisy, who gives me a town map.
Leaving Professor Oak's lab, you make your way to Blue's house and knock on the door. After a moment, a young girl with bright blue eyes and braided hair answers the door. This is Daisy, Blue's sister.
I heard you had a map for me.
Daisy smiles and nods, recognizing you immediately. "Ah, yes," she says happily. "You must be Red. Blue told me you'd be stopping by."
Okay, let me get the map.
Daisy steps aside to let you into the house, gesturing for you to come in. The inside is quaint and cozy, with various pictures and knickknacks covering the walls and tables. Daisy leads you over to a small table next to the window and pulls out a thin paper map from a drawer.
Thank you for the town map. I should be going now.
Daisy beams and hands you the map. "You're very welcome," she says kindly. "Be careful out there, and good luck on your journey."
Thank you. I make my way outside and go back to Viridian City.
With the town map safely tucked away in your pack, you step back outside and make your way back down the path towards Viridian City. As you walk, the sun begins to dip below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow across the landscape.
I get to Viridian City.
You arrive back in Viridian City, the familiar sights of the Pokemart and the Pokemon Center greeting you as you approach. The sky is now a deep shade of blue, the first stars just beginning to appear in the sky.
Before I make my way to Route 2, I take a detour to Route 22 to look for a Mankey that I heard roamed there.
As you stand in Viridian City, contemplating your next destination, you suddenly remember hearing about a rare Pokemon called Mankey that can be found on Route 22. Intrigued, you decide to take a slight detour and head to the neighboring route to try and find this elusive creature.
I make my way to Route 22 to look for a Mankey.
The sense of determination, you leave Viridian City behind and head towards Route 22, which lies just to the north. The route is a peaceful one, lined with tall trees and lush grass, but you keep your eyes peeled for any sign of the elusive Mankey.
I continue to look for him.
You continue your trek along Route 22, eyes scanning the area intently for any sign of the Mankey. The tall grass seems to stretch on endlessly in every direction, and the only sound you can hear is the rustling of the wind through the trees. Just when you're starting to wonder if the Mankey rumors were just a myth.
Suddenly, I see a Mankey tail in the tall grass.
As you scan the area with increasing frustration, you suddenly catch sight of something moving amongst the tall blades of grass. A small, furry tail sticking out from the top of the grass. Could it be?
I throw out my Charmander and tell it to battle.
Char, go! Use tackle, you command, pointing at the Mankey hiding in the grass. Your Charmander leaps forward, its small body charging toward the grass where the Mankey is hiding.
Was it a Mankey?
Your Charmander tears through the grass, revealing a small, monkey-like creature with brown fur and a long, slender tail. It lets out a high-pitched yip in surprise, its large eyes looking at your Charmander in confusion.
Charmander, tackle, go!
Charmander, use tackle, you call out once more, pointing at the Mankey. Charmander runs forward, its small body lowering into a charging position. With a burst of speed, it lunges towards the Mankey, its shoulder bashing into the smaller Pokemon's chest.
The Mankey makes a counterattack.
The Mankey is momentarily knocked off balance by your Charmander's attack, but quickly regains its footing and retaliates with a flurry of scratches.
Continue.
The Mankey lets out a loud cry and swipes its claws at your Charmander, aiming for its face and chest. Your Charmander dodges a few of the attacks, but one of the Mankey's claws connects, leaving a small scratch across its shoulder.
Charmander, tackle once more.
Charmander, use tackle again, you call out, hoping your Pokemon can finish off the Mankey quickly. Your Charmander charges back into the fight, its small, fiery body slamming into the Mankey's stomach.
I throw a Pokeball at the Mankey.
You quickly pull out a Pokeball and throw it at the Mankey, hoping to capture the feisty little creature. The ball hits the Mankey dead on, the red and white sphere enveloping it in a flash of light.
Continue.
The Pokeball rattles and shakes on the ground, and you hold your breath as you wait to see if the capture was successful. After a few tense moments, the ball stops shaking, and a small click indicates that the Mankey has been successfully caught.
Let's go, I scream out in happiness.
You let out a yell of triumph as the Pokeball finally stops shaking, signaling that the Mankey has been captured. We did it, you cry out, picking up the Pokeball and examining it closely.
I make my way back to Viridian City.
With your new Mankey in hand, you head back towards Viridian City, a sense of accomplishment and pride filling you. The sky has grown even darker since you left the city, stars now shining brightly above.
I go into the Pokemon Center to heal all 3 Pokemon.
You enter the Pokemon Center and approach the front desk, where a nurse stands waiting. "Hello there," she says in a warm voice. "How can I help you today?"
Heal all 3 of my Pokemon, please.
The nurse smiles and nods, taking your 3 Pokeballs from you. "Of course. I'll take good care of them for you." She then takes your 3 Pokemon to the back of the center for healing. A few minutes later, she returns with all 3 of your Pokemon in perfect health.
Thank you. I take them and I leave.
You take the 3 Pokeballs from the nurse, feeling relieved that your team is fully healed and ready for the next leg of your journey. "Good luck on your journey," the nurse says kindly as you turn to leave.
Thank you. I leave.
With a final nod and wave to the nurse, you step back out of the Pokemon Center and into the night air. The sky above is now a deep navy blue, the constellations beginning to become visible in the inky expanse.
I make my way up to Route 2.
As you leave the city behind, you make your way towards Route 2, which lies to the north. The night air is cool and crisp, and the only sound you can hear is the faint chirping of crickets and the rustle of the tall grass.
I continue through Route 2 to Viridian Forest.
Route 2 stretching on ahead of you, you make your way through the long grass, stepping over small bushes and rocks that appear in your path. The woods of Viridian Forest loom up before you, their dark, shadowy forms casting a sense of mystery and danger.
I go through the building and prepare to go to Viridian Forest.
You approach the entrance to Viridian Forest, its tall trees and thick foliage looking ominous and intimidating in the dark. You take a deep breath and step through the trees into the depths of the mysterious forest.
I look around in amazement of how beautiful the forest is.
As you step foot into the Viridian Forest, you are immediately struck by the beauty of the place. The trees loom tall and proud all around you, their branches intertwined to create a thick, lush canopy overhead. The ground is covered in thick mounds of grass, punctuated by patches of wildflowers that bloom in a rainbow of colors. The air is filled with the scent of pine and the soft chirping of nocturnal Pokemon.
I start making my way through the forest.
You start walking through the Viridian Forest, taking in the sights and sounds of the lush environment around you. Suddenly you hear a faint rustling in the grass up ahead, followed by a low growl.
What is it?
You freeze in your tracks, your heart rate quickening at the sound of the growl. "I'm not sure," you murmur, your eyes darting around the foliage around you. "Be on your guard."
When suddenly,
a small figure darts out of the grass in front of you. It's a Rattata, its beady eyes fixed on you as it raises its small, clawed hands in a fighting stance.
I don't want to fight the Rattata. I tried to escape it.
You quickly put up a hand in a defensive gesture, signaling to the Rattata that you don't want to fight. "Easy there, buddy," you say calmly, backing away slowly. "I don't want to hurt you."
I try to leave.
The Rattata continues to advance, its small body tensed and ready for a fight. You take a cautionary step back, trying to put some distance between the Rattata and yourself.
Continue.
The Rattata lets out another low growl and takes another step forward, its eyes never leaving yours. It's now clear that it won't back down easily, its aggressive nature pushing it to attack.
Alright, I throw out Charmander. Let's do this then.
The Rattata suddenly charges forward, its claws extended and ready to attack. You quickly reach for your Pokeball, pulling it off your belt and releasing your Charmander. Charmander, use Scratch, you command.
Continue.
The Rattata lunges forward, swiping its small claws at your Charmander. Your Charmander dodges the attack, its small body moving with incredible speed. Charmander, dodge! You cry out, watching anxiously as the Rattata prepares to attack once more.
Charmander, Ember.
Charmander, use Ember, you command, watching as your Charmander spits a jet of flames at the Rattata. The flames hit the Rattata directly, knocking it off balance and causing it to stumble backwards a few steps.
Go, Charmander, Ember, once more. Finish this fight.
Charmander, finish this fight with another Ember attack, you call out, pointing at the Rattata that's now crouched on the ground, looking dazed and disoriented by the flames. The Charmander lets out a small cry, then spits another stream of fire at the Rattata. The flames hit its small, fluffy body, and after a few moments it collapses, unconscious.
We won. Charmander levels up.
You watch as your Charmander looks around, satisfied with its performance in the battle. Good job, Charmander, you say, returning the small, fiery creature to its Pokeball. You're getting stronger already.
I make my way to the end of the forest when bug catcher Rick wants to battle.
As you make your way deeper into the Viridian Forest, you suddenly hear a voice call out from behind a nearby tree. Hey there, a boy's voice calls out. You look like a strong trainer. Wanna battle?
Sure.
The boy, who introduces himself as Rick, grins at your response. All right then, he says confidently. Let's do this.
We start the battle. He has a level 6 Weedle and a level 6 Caterpie.
Rick sends out his first Pokémon, a small green Weedle that buzzes around him rapidly. Weedle, use Tackle, he calls out, pointing at your Charmander.
Dodge it and use Ember.
Charmander, dodge that attack! You cry out, watching as your Charmander bounds to the side, evading the Weedle's tackle attack. Now, use Ember.
Continue.
The Charmander lets out a small cry and spits a stream of flames at the Weedle, hitting it dead on and knocking it off balance. Nice going, Rick comments, a hint of disappointment in his voice. But my Weedle isn't down that easily.
Charmander, Ember again.
Charmander, use Ember again, you command, watching as your Charmander spits another jet of flames at the Weedle, which is now struggling to get back on its feet.
Weedle does a counterattack.
The Weedle, despite being dazed and disoriented, still has enough strength to let out a weak tackle attack on your Charmander. The attack hits, knocking your Charmander back a few steps.
Continue.
Whoa, that Weedle packs a punch, Rick exclaims, a smile on his face. Keep going, Weedle. Use Sting.
Charmander, dodge it.
Charmander, hang in there, you call out, watching as the small, fiery Pokemon stands up bravely, ready to take on Rick's Weedle once more.
The battle ends.
After a few more turns, both the Weedle and Charmander are completely exhausted, and it's clear that the battle is over. Well, that was quite a fight, Rick says with a smirk, calling his Weedle back into its Pokeball.
Thank you. I'll take my reward money now.
Of course, Rick says, pulling out a small pouch of coins from his pocket. Here you go, you earned it. He hands you the pouch, which jingles with coins as you take it.
It's exactly 72 Pokédollars.
You count out the coins in the pouch Rick hands you, finding exactly 72 Pokédollars.
I make my way through the forest some more.
With your battle against Rick finished, you continue your journey through the Viridian Forest. The tall trees and thick foliage make it almost impossible to see in front of you, but you push onward, determined to make it to the end of the forest. Sorry for what? You ask, confused by the sudden apology.
I'm almost to the end of the Viridian Forest when there's a line of trainers: Bugcatcher Doug, Anthony, and Charlie.
As you make your way through the Viridian Forest, you suddenly come upon a group of trainers loitering by the entrance to the forest. One of them, a boy named Doug, spots you and calls out, "Hey there, you look like a strong trainer. Want a battle?"
Do I have a choice?
Doug smirked at your response. "No, not really," he replied, raising his Pokeball. "I've got a powerful team here, and we're all itching for a good fight."
Alright, let's go then.
That's the spirit. Doug grins, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Let's do this."
The battle starts.
Doug steps forward, sending out his first Pokemon, a level 6 Caterpie. "Caterpie, use Tackle," he calls out.
Continue.
The small, yellow caterpillar lunges towards your Charmander, attempting to tackle him to the ground. "Charmander, dodge it!" you call out, watching as the small, fiery Pokemon sidesteps the attack with ease.
I look at his yellow Caterpie. Is that a shiny? How did he find that?
The Caterpie glitters in the dim light of the forest, its normally green body now a shiny golden yellow. It's a rare find indeed.
Continue.
"What's the matter? Never seen a shiny before?" Doug asks with a smirk, watching as your Charmander dodges another tackle attack.
No, not really. This is my first.
"Well, now you have," Doug replies, a hint of pride in his voice. "My Caterpie is super rare, and I'm not about to let him lose a battle to some newbie."
Newbie, you say? Okay, Charmander, Ember, go.
"Charmander, use Ember," you call out, watching as your Pokemon spits a small jet of flames at the shiny Caterpie. The flames hit its small body, causing it to stumble backwards.
The Caterpie has fainted.
"Caterpie, no, return!" Doug cries out, returning his fallen Pokemon back to its Pokeball. He looks a bit shocked at the quick defeat of his first Pokemon.
Continue.
"Looks like I underestimated you," Doug says, his expression hardening as he holds up his next Pokeball. "But this next Pokemon of mine won't go down so easily. Go, Weedle!"
You know I have a fire type, right? And you have bugs.
"That's right," Doug replies, a confident tone in his voice. "My team is made up mostly of bug-type Pokemon, which means you're probably thinking a fire type would have an advantage over me. Am I right?"
Yeah, pretty much. Charmander, Ember again, go.
Charmander, use Ember, you call out, watching as your Charmander spits another jet of flames at the Weedle, which dodges awkwardly to the side, barely avoiding the attack.
Wow, he dodged it. He's pretty good.
Doug grins proudly, watching as his Weedle weaves and dodges your Charmander's consecutive Ember attacks. Yeah, my Weedle is trained for this. It takes more than a few Embers to take him down.
Continue.
Doug's Weedle continues to dodge your Charmander's attacks with surprising agility, its small body moving swiftly to avoid the streams of fire. Keep it up, Weedle, Doug calls out, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Don't let yourself get hit.
Charmander, rush in and tackle.
Charmander, quick, rush in and use Tackle, you command, watching as your Charmander darts forward, its small body moving at surprising speed as it aims to tackle the Weedle.
Charmander, quick, grab the Weedle.
Charmander, grab it quickly, you call out, watching as your Charmander closes in on the Weedle. The small Pokemon is taken off guard by the sudden move, and your Charmander manages to grab it in its jaws.
Now, maximum Ember.
Now, use Ember on it at full strength, you tell Charmander, watching as the small Pokemon lets out a powerful jet of flame, the attack hitting the Weedle directly.
And I win.
Doug stares at you and your Charmander in disbelief, his eyes wide with surprise. I can't believe it, he mutters. My Weedle taken down by a measly Charmander.
Well, I'll take my money and be on my way now.
Yeah, take your winnings and go, Doug grumbles, fishing a few coins out of his pocket and handing them to you. But don't think you've seen the last of me, newbie.
Yeah, whatever. I count out 84 Poké Dollars.
You quickly count out the coins in your hand, finding a total of 84 Poké Dollars.
I continue.
After collecting your winnings from Doug, you continue your journey through the Viridian Forest, the path now clear ahead of you. The trees here are thicker than ever, their tall shadows making the path even darker than before.
Suddenly, in the tall grass, I see a glint of yellow.
As you make your way through the forest, something catches your eye. In the tall grass up ahead, you spot a small yellow gleam. It could be another shiny Pokémon.
I go to look, but it's a Pikachu.
When you go to investigate the gleam in the grass, you discover it's not a shiny Pokémon after all, but a small yellow Pikachu. The small electric rodent stares up at you with curious eyes.
Whoa, a Pikachu? That has to be a rare find.
It's true that Pikachus are not super common in the wild, so finding one among the tall grass in the Viridian Forest is quite unusual. This one seems to be a young, curious little creature.
I try to skip the battle and just throw a Pokeball at it.
You decide to try to catch the Pikachu with a Pokeball without battling it. You take out a Pokeball and gently lob it towards the Pokemon, trying to capture it without engaging in a battle.
Continue.
The Pokeball lands a few feet away from the Pikachu, which curiously tilts its head to the side as it looks at the small object. It takes a few steps forward to investigate, curious about the ball.
It touches the Pokeball.
The Pikachu, curious about the Pokeball, takes a few steps forward and touches the ball with its small yellow paw. The ball begins to shake and wobble, a sign that the capture process has started.
Continue.
After a nerve-wracking moment, the Pokeball stops shaking and clicks shut, indicating that the Pikachu has been captured.
Wow, that was easy.
Look in surprise at the closed Pokeball, amazed at how easy it was to capture the Pikachu. You picked up a rare Pokemon without a single battle.
I put the Pikachu in my backpack and make my way to the exit of Viridian Forest.
With the Pikachu safely stowed away in your backpack, you continue making your way towards the exit of the Viridian Forest. The path is still dark and a bit treacherous, but after a few more minutes of walking, you finally emerge from the thick foliage and find yourself standing outside the forest.
I'm back in Route 2, but on the other side of the forest.
After exiting the Viridian Forest, you find yourself back on Route 1, the grass-lined path that runs between Pallet Town and Viridian City. And to your left, you can still see the darkened entrance to the forest, and to your right, the path leads north towards Viridian City.
I make my way to Pewter City North.
The Viridian Forest behind you, you begin walking north along Route 1, the path steadily leading towards the city of Pewter. After a fair bit of walking, you eventually reach the outskirts of the city and make your way into the town of Pewter, located at the base of a huge mountain.
I go inside and heal my Pokemon in the Pokemon Center.
Upon entering the city, you make your way to the nearby Pokemon Center, where you heal your Pokemon and tend to your team's needs. Once your Pokemon are feeling better, you're ready to continue your journey.
I exit and go back down to Route 2 looking for a Nidoran.
With your Pokemon healed and rested, you exit the Pokemon Center and walk back out into the route. Remembering your goal of finding a Nidoran, you keep an eye out for any signs of the small two-tailed Pokemon.
Suddenly, I see one in the grass.
As you make your way along the path, your eyes suddenly spot a small spiky Pokemon lurking in the tall grass. It's a Nidoran.
I engage battle.
You approach the Nidoran carefully, crouching down to get a good look at the small Pokemon. After a moment, it notices you and stands up on its two hind legs, preparing for battle. Nidoran used Scratch Attack. It cries out, lunging towards you with its sharp claws.
I throw out Pidgey.
Pidgey, go! You call out, tossing out your small bird Pokemon. Pidgey flaps its wings, looking ready to fight.
Tackle.
Pidgey, use Tackle, you command, watching as your bird Pokemon lunges forward, tackling the Nidoran in an attempt to take it down.
I throw a Pokeball.
Taking advantage of the Nidoran's momentary shock from the tackle attack, you toss a Pokeball at the small two-tailed Pokemon, hoping to capture it quickly.
Continue.
The Pokeball lands next to the Nidoran, rolling a few times on the ground before coming to a stop. The small Pokemon looks at the ball with a mix of curiosity and confusion, but it doesn't make any attempt to run away.
Continue.
For a moment, the Nidoran just stares at the Pokeball, its small body tense with uncertainty. Slowly, it begins to inch towards the ball, its two small tails twitching anxiously.
I throw another Pokeball.
Just when the Nidoran is about to make contact with the Pokeball, you quickly throw another one at it, attempting to complete the capture process before it can escape or attack.
Continue.
The second Pokeball lands right next to the first, rolling slightly before coming to rest next to the small two-tailed Pokemon. The Nidoran, now surrounded by two Pokeballs, looks a bit overwhelmed, its tiny form trembling slightly.
It touches one of the Pokeballs and gets sucked in.
After a moment of uncertainty, the Nidoran finally touches one of the Pokeballs with its small snout, and in a flash of light, it's sucked inside. The Pokeball shakes and trembles for a moment, before finally clicking shut with a satisfying sound.
I go and take the Pokeball and put it in my backpack, and also the Nidoran.
You pick up the Pokeball, feeling the light weight of the small creature inside. With your new Nidoran safely captured, you place both Pokeballs in your backpack alongside the Pikachu you found earlier. You're about to start walking again when you suddenly stop, realizing that you just captured 2 rare Pokemon in the same day.
I go back to heal all my Pokemon.
You head back to the Pokemon Center, feeling satisfied with your progress and eager to heal your Pokemon after the recent battles. You enter the center and ask the nurse to help you heal your team's injuries, grateful for the chance to rest and recover before continuing your journey.
Alright, everybody. I think that's where I'll stop it this time. It's been about an hour. I love this so much. It's got pretty much everything correct. I noticed a few things, but this is so fun. I'm so curious to see where it'll go. Next time we'll fight Brock and make our way to the next city and Mount Moon and all of that. So if you enjoyed this and you like stuff like this, let me know. And don't forget to like, subscribe, all that if you enjoyed my stuff. And I'll see you next time. Have a good night, evening, day, morning, whenever you're watching. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.